What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast that each week lets you know the MMA podcast you should catch, skip, and can't miss. We also try and talk about a new show, and we give our picks for the upcoming weekend's fight card. So I am Pulver, and I'm back yet again with my co-host Chris Madaffer. What up, dude?
Doing well, man. Doing well. No complaints.
Your internet's much better this week, I'm noticing.
Yeah, it is. So there's that.
Yeah, shouts out to using an Ethernet cable when you record a podcast.
Yeah, it's some decent advice, decent life pro tip for sure. So
That's right.
You live and you learn.
Exactly. Cool, man. Well, do you want to start us off with our Papa Vodka presents, Doug Stanhope presents our sponsors that are super real and totally not fake?
Yeah, our definitely real sponsor. Is an interesting collaboration. It's from Anchorstein Brewing. If who may not know, it's based out of San Francisco. This one is a collaboration they did with a clothing brand called San Francisco, which is interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like something Anchorstein would do at all. That's weird.
Yeah. So, anyways, they describe it as a juicy India Pale Ale. It's brewed with peach and apricot, and it's very good.
Wow, that sounds pretty interesting. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm used to. Would you say, as far as fruits added to IPA, probably grapefruit's like the base, right?
Grapefruit. Sculpin is like the go-to fruit added beer.
That or like a blood orange.
Blood orange is also super common nowadays.
And that's what I was expecting when I saw the color. I'm like, oh, it's probably grapefruit. And I was like, oh shit, peach and apricot. I'll try it out, and it's good, man. It's solid. Definitely got a lot of flavor to it, so doesn't taste like it's an extract or anything like that. Make no puree or any bullshit like that.
Yeah, it's not all syrupy or anything.
Yeah, not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you can get away with it. But yeah, it's good though. It's solid beer. Interesting collaboration, but it works.
Cool, man. I'm gonna have to give that I'm gonna check that out next time I see it. So this week I am drinking on, since this is always my go-to when I don't know what else to get, is a pizza pour beer. I'm drinking on Ponto, which is the sessionable IPA. I figure I could probably use a session IPA in my life based on the episode a couple weeks ago. So I picked that up. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's just a very solid pizza port session IPA. It's kind of like a lower ABV Swami's. Like a little bit less sweetness to it, a little bit drier, but I really like it.
Yeah, because I'd probably say when it comes to their main line beers, Swami's is probably the go-to, I would think.
Of the main line, yeah. Swami's is like, I pick that up almost every time I see it because it's just good. My favorite of their beers, though, is probably either Old Viscosity. I think that's Pizza Port, not Port Brewing. I'm pretty sure. Old Viscosity is fucking delicious. And, of course, the Bacon and Eggs Porter is, like, one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah. It sucks they raised the price on that, maybe because they caught on to how good it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's still pretty fucking affordable depending on where you go. You can get them for, like, I think, like, a 6-pack of 16-ounce cans. It's, like, $20 a lot of places. So, pretty bomb. Cool, man. Well, we will go ahead and jump into format then. So since we're not a booze podcast, despite my best efforts, so why don't we go ahead and jump into the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week?
So I think I have two. I might just have one. If anything, I'll just give honorable mentions at the end. So I'll start it off with, if I can find it, MMA on the Rocks.
Nice.
I like this one. Because Bill, he who I believe is the main host, you know how it is. I should know their names by now with the voices.
Bill Welker and Jeff the Animal Wilson.
He was at the Sunrise event in attendance, and he said the ticket scanner guy was basically Florida man personified. The guy was pretty high around something he said. The guy didn't know where any of the seats were, and he saw him leading a lot of other people to their wrong seats. He said, which
That's
a
hilarious.
lot of hilarity and chaos ensued. So Florida man strikes again. The reason why he was Florida man also is because when he said, "All right, sir, can you show me your code on your phone so I could scan it?" The guy who was scanning it with his thing had a flashlight on his phone shining into Bill's phone. He's like, I can't read it. It's like, yeah, because your flashlight's on, dude. He's like, oh, yeah. So he had that. Wrong seats, that kind of thing. Jeff and Bill kind of got quick into it. They think ESPN has to get their shit together with the ESPN Plus app. This is interesting to me because I have yet to run in with the problem. Maybe I'm one of the lucky few because it worked fine on my end. Knock on wood, all that bullshit, right?
Yeah, it's been working fine for me, but I never use the actual app. I always use the desktop versions because it's fucking 2019 and I have a computer hooked up to my TV like everybody should. I don't know why HDMI cables are so hard to figure out for most people, but yeah.
And that is funny because I remember I've had people over my house like, wait, how are you watching the Padre game on your TV? I'm like, because I have an HDMI cable and I run it from my laptop.
You could literally buy a Raspberry Pi for like $70, put Linux on it, and have a computer on your TV. I don't get why it's so.
You're absolutely right.
I don't get why it's such a big deal. But yeah, I think it's because everybody uses the built-in either like Roku or whatever streaming app, and those are always pretty trash.
No, they're not good in general. They talked about the main event from last week. I think it was Jeff. He kept calling Jacare. I think it was Jeff who was saying that. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, he's notoriously bad at pronouncing stuff. So
he was like, Jacare did a good job countering Jack with the left hand to the body when they're engaging. That fight was awesome, by the way. I liked that fight a lot. Great performance from Jack Hermanson. His best performance yet, clearly. Yeah. That dude is top, whatever you want to call it. That whole division is filled with a bunch of killers. And, of course, you get the parroting people going, oh, Hermanson's cardio looks suspicious. EPO?
To be fair, Eugene S. Robinson was one of those people. He's like, I don't know that I've seen somebody fight 5 harder rounds and then not sweat or be out of breath in the post-fight speech.
That is kind of true. That dude is a fucking machine. So we'll have to see. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, though. Bill kind of wished Hermanson cut a promo or called someone out. I can't really remember what I don't think he called anyone out.
It doesn't seem in his nature, really.
I think he just said, can't wait to get another top opponent. And then it was like that, which I don't blame him for that. They said UFC got it wrong as far as some of the fights that were scheduled. Yeah. They said Perry versus Oliveira was fight of the night, and it was great. That should have been the co-main because Mike Perry is basically Florida man, which at this point, 100%. Especially with the whole story of him accidentally almost hanging himself.
That motherfucker
and getting help from Jacare. What did he try to? I know co-main event talked about it. What did he do? He had a pull-up bar and he's like, "Hey, let me pretend like I'm like caught in this."
Even dumber,
it was. What was it?
It was one of those bands that you have for like stretching and shit like that.
Like a resistance band, right?
Exactly.
That you kind of put on your
feet. And he was joking that
this
is a good way to get a neck workout, and he started doing it and then passed out, slammed his head on the thing. And his wife Danielle is just like yelling, "Mike, knock it off!" And then Jacare had to literally save dude's life because the UFC camera crew evidently can't recognize someone choking themselves unconscious.
Yeah, more like, dude, this is good footage. Zoom in, leave the wide angle shot.
We've loved the footage of Mike Perry almost dying. I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet, honestly.
And I wasn't able to see all of the card. I think I was preoccupied with it, but they said Arlovsky got robbed again, or I don't know about robbed, but he lost another close decision. I didn't see that fight, so I don't.
It was another close decision. Yeah, I mean, it was another split decision where Arlovsky.
Because I do feel like now people like to throw the term robbed around a little too kind of just, I guess, nonchalant or a little too, they're eager to say that term is what I should say.
Yeah.
Without really recognizing what is a robbery. To me, a robbery would be like, oh, clearly he won 4 of those 5 rounds and then he loses. Okay, what the fuck? Or a robbery is like he got knocked down 3 times and he, I don't have to explain it. But
yes and no. Like I technically every fight that goes the wrong way is a robbery. I don't care how close the fight was. But like that one, I don't know. Under Arlovsky fights, I kind of expect split decisions at this point. He's like the fucking what's her face of God damn it, who's the chick who always gets split decisions that just recently fought?
Oh,
I can't remember off the top of my
not
head.
Angie Hill, right? Well,
I
kind
mean,
of.
Angie Hill is also pretty close with that. Where it's not Angie. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, you kind of have to figure at this point that an Andrei Arlovsky fight is going to be a rough. Or John Fitch. How about a John Fitch fight?
Don't even tell me about that fight, dude. That was just.
I called last week that tournament was fucking cursed. Actually, every tournament is cursed, which we'll talk about Invicta here in a bit. But
You know what? I think Jesus should clearly be an alternate for the welterweight tournament.
I mean, to be fair, it's not really how it's. I don't know how the commission allowed Jesus to be the third corner man for Rory McDonald. I don't believe that's sanctioned. I don't think he did all his paperwork, and I'm definitely questioning it. There was some. By the way, I'll just go ahead and say it now. I'll talk about John Morgan's show later, but our intro this week is fucking hilarious. John Morgan offhandedly on his podcast on the MMA Roadshow, he offhandedly said, well, you guys heard on the intro, but since Chris hasn't heard it, he basically said that someone on the MMA Junkie staff team said that Robbie Lawler is really nice because he stole Robbie's soul and delivered it straight to Jesus. I mean, he stole Rory's soul and delivered it straight to Jesus. Fucking, yeah. It's real good.
That checks out.
And then John Morgan whispered that it was actually him that made that joke, which is double funny. I thought it was great, so that's why it's the intro. But yeah, Man on the Rocks guys are fucking fantastic. I always really like their stuff.
Yeah, I think it was the first one I listened to in a while where Jeff was on there. I don't know if he had kind of been absent.
I know he wasn't. He hadn't been on at least last week and maybe the week before. So,
but yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It was a solid episode. It helps that one of them was at the event and they had that story with the Florida man.
Yeah, that checks out. It's always cool hearing Bill's take on, especially the Florida side of MMA, because he's down there. He also, if you guys are looking for dope cigar recommendations, Bill Welker's got you. MMA on the Rocks on Twitter. But yeah, I love those guys, and that podcast is a lot of fun. A lot of beer talk too, which I can't hate on.
Yeah, they did mention some beers. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I think I tried a couple of them that one of them had mentioned. So,
yeah, he's the guy who put me onto a couple of I think it was the Cigar City beers that I wasn't aware of. So,
hell yeah,
cool, man. Did you have? Oh no, actually, you said you only had the one catch, right?
Yeah, everything else to me will probably just be some sort of quick mention, kind of just give like a 2 little notation thing to it. But
cool. I'll go ahead and jump into the MMA podcast I recommend people catch this week then, which is I Fox with Juice, episode 25. It's IFOX with Juice. And by the way, link in the description on not on YouTube because I'll eventually start copying those over. But if you look on our website, thesoundofviolence.com, or on the podcast feed, we have links for all the shows we talk about, so you guys can check them out. But I Fox with Juice, episode 25. It was Juice and Reen host, as always, and their guest was Ant Walker of Sherdog. And it's just a great episode. Ant Walker is hilarious in this episode. And Juice and Reen a lot of times will say semi-fucked up things. Like, it's funny and it's a joke, but also there'll be some fucked up jokes generally on their show.
Kind of just treading that line.
Yeah, exactly. And it was fun hearing Ant Walker kind of play into that sometimes and then not others. But I had a lot of fun listening to it. They talk a bit about Ant Walker covered the Chuck vs. Tito 3 card in LA, since all three are located in California. And Ant talked about how evidently all the boxing press, since it was De La Hoya card, all the boxing press for that card were just drinking beers on press row. It's like, you could tell where their interest was on that Tito versus Chuck fight. So,
I mean, I'd probably be doing the same thing, or
especially if you're boxing press, you're like, I don't know
boxing press about this. Like this with my camera. Okay, hold on, just pretend I'm doing something.
Yeah, generally not supposed to drink on press row, but if it's not your sport and it's Tito versus Chuck 3, you're gonna have to drink just to make it through the night.
Yeah, because I feel like if you have a couple drinks, then it looks like Chuck Liddell's throwing some decent strikes.
Right, or you just black out the entire fight, which I wish I could. But yeah, it was cool hearing that. They talk a lot about UFC Fort Lauderdale, Bellator 220, Rory's comments, of course, which everybody kind of touched on this week. Also talked UFC Ottawa coming up and some of the boxing cards like the Canelo fight and that kind of stuff. It was just cool hearing them go back and forth, and it's always fun hearing Ant Walker on a podcast. So I really liked that one.
When is that? I'm not going to watch it, by the way, because I know how it's going to end. But when is that Canelo fight against? Who is it?
I think it's tomorrow, I want to say.
Yeah, it is May 4th. Who's the guy he's fighting? Fucking Roberts?
Something like that.
No. I know. I've fucking seen this guy fight so many guys. He's fought Triple G before.
Nope. That's Canelo's last name. God damn it.
Yeah.
Jacobs.
Jacobs, yeah. Danny Jacobs. Yeah. I seen him fight Triple G. He gave I mean, whatever. I like boxing, but I fucking hate it at the same time. You know, Canelo's the biggest name. If he doesn't get knocked the fuck out, which he won't, or he shouldn't, it's going to decision.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and I don't know who you think would win that decision, but let me tell you, the fight takes place in Las Vegas, and it's the same judges from Triple G versus Canelo. So
yeah, that's all you need to hear. Yeah. Remember, I said this before. I will always say it. The first fight with Triple G won. The second fight was a draw, even though it was closer. Still a fucking draw.
Yeah. Well, the good news is ironic. Yeah. The good news is you'll get to see Adelaide Bird looking at only Canelo in the front row again. So actually, she might not be on this one. They might have done the same judges as the second one.
She's legitimately one of the judges.
I think it's the judges from the second fight. I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
I don't think Adelaide's on there. Good God.
Boxing. He never ceased to amaze me, especially the whole Anthony Joshua situation. Yeah, let's not have him fight Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. Let's just have him fight a guy that Deontay Wilder already beat. It's just all politics. It's so fucking dumb.
Gotta love boxing for being old as shit and corrupt as shit.
Fucking Uncle Dana wanted to do his Zuffa boxing. Who did he meet with? That guy Hearn, that one other promoter. What's that guy, Eddie Hearn or some shit?
The guy who I accidentally called Paul Heyman not that long ago. A little different. It could be worse. I could have called him fucking. Oh man, I can't remember the name of the guy who yells at the Undertaker all the time. Paul Bearer. There you go. I knew it was a Paul. Anyway, so yeah, that was one catch I had. The other MMA podcast I recommend people catch this week is The Truth About Stuff, episode 99. That's the show that's hosted by Mike Jackson, of course, who famous for beating up CM Punk in the UFC.
Yeah, the no-look fucking ground and pound.
The no-look ground and pound and just clowning him. And the same guy who lost a fight and then went and sat on press row and worked as a reporter the rest of the night, which was dope.
I did like that. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I like Mike Jackson a lot, actually. But it's just a good episode. Actually, it was a second take on the episode since Mike didn't hit record, which I fucking know how that shit goes. But let's see. So they talk a bit about there was a local grappling event that they talk a bit about, and then they talk UFC Fort Lauderdale a bunch, Brock dropping out. And they were the first I heard to mention that the rumor was that Brock wasn't feeling it in training and that the Saudi card for the WWE was going to make him bank anyway. So why the fuck would you take a fight against DC? Who's probably going to fuck you up. Which, yeah, that checks out.
Wouldn't he just not mind losing just for all the money?
I mean, he's going to make way more doing the WWE event in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So what the fuck am I talking about? Yeah.
Because it's the same weekend.
I thought you were going to say he wasn't feeling it because Jesus told him not to fight anymore.
Oh, yeah, no. That was the guy who allowed Jesus
If there's any god or deity that Brock prays to, it's probably something to do with the wilderness or some sort of.
Oh yeah.
No, he's probably praised. Oh, knowing him, just how he looks, he probably prays to the Norse gods. He's probably more like an Odin guy or Thor guy.
That or he just prays to himself. He's like, "Dear Brock."
Yeah, no, he prays to Boric Laser.
There you go. That checks out. He prays to the fucking sword tattoo on his chest.
I still
Let's see. So the other stuff so after that, Juan Adams called in, Juan the Chosen One, who is the heavyweight who's fighting this weekend, and that's the dude who's been calling out Greg Hardy on Twitter a fuckload, and it's hilarious.
okay, now I have to see this.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's the guy with the big fro from Contender Series. The Kraken.
Okay, that's right. That's why I recognize that name.
Yeah.
Is he like a big heavyweight, like like height wise, or is he just like wide?
Wide, but he's big too. He has to cut down to 265. Like he was 277 when he called in, and that was Tuesday, something like that.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah,
boy, this guy's a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah, so he's been calling out Greg Hardy a lot, and he's fucking funny as hell too. I believe the quote was during the interview. He's like, first of all, hashtag fuck Greg Hardy. He's pathetic, and he's fighting.
Yeah, I heard
Arjun.
that was trending. The hashtag fuck Greg Hardy. Yeah,
hilarious.
I'm trying to see where he's tweeting at.
It was probably last weekend or something, but yeah, he's been saying fuck Greg Hardy on Twitter for a while now. But he also is fighting Arjun Bular this weekend, and they're like, "Oh, so is there any like hashtags you have for this fight coming up?" Just as a joke, and he goes, hashtag disappoint a billion people, because Arjun Bular is the Indian dude who's coming over from Canada, who is like, it's a good joke. It's a real fucking good joke. So that dude's hilarious. He's been, I forget who he was. I want to say he was on the Slip and Dip podcast previously that I've talked about, but super funny guy, and just a good episode. That show's really solid, and I'm definitely going to check out next week's episode where they hit episode of 100 and see what they do for that. They said maybe they're going to go to like a restaurant or a bar and do something. So that'll be cool.
Cool, man. Well, I'm a fan of that guy. Shit.
Yeah,
don't need more convincing other than that.
Yeah, definitely go follow him on Twitter. I think he's like Chosen One, and then
I saw it.
Yeah. So, but dude's hilarious. So let's see. Why don't we get into? Do you have an MMA podcast you recommend people skip this week?
Yeah. Mostly it's Believe You Me. It was the one with Mike Perry. It wasn't anything to do with Mike Perry. He was fine. He had a really good phone call with Michael and Lewis.
He actually had a hilarious line too.
I should have written it down.
I've got it here somewhere. Okay. Where is it? Fuck. Keep talking. I'll find it.
So they for the first like 10 minutes they talked about Game of Thrones. Michael couldn't see because it was too dark.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Michael can't see it anyway.
Yeah, since Lewis is a smart person, he ended up watching it in Spanish, and he doesn't know Spanish.
Right, yeah, him and Kim Congdon, fucking.
Yeah. They had an absolutely terrible tribute to Shannon leaving the show. They played Good Riddance by Green Day, which, why would you pick that song? But okay.
And why would you on a podcast play a video clip of just her laughing and talking into a mic, but with no audio of her at all?
Oh, wait, they actually
there was no audio of her.
Oh.
You figure she talked a lot on that show. They could have cut together like some clips of her being on the show instead of just a video montage of her sitting in the chair, which is like, it's a weird move.
Well, I'll just blame Harrington like they usually do.
Yeah, God damn it, Harrington.
Yeah, Mike Perry was fine. He's talking about resting up. He wants Darren Till or Colby Covington soon. Good luck with the Colby call out. I'm pretty sure that dude's getting a title shot in August. At least all signs are pointing to that. And then the last 15 minutes are about piece of shit Greg Hardy, who, a quick reminder for people, was convicted in court. He was convicted. Never said sorry. Don't think he did any. So it doesn't matter. He didn't do any comedies. He's a guy's an idiot, piece of shit. He paid off his girlfriend. We've talked that. Yeah, they talked to. I was like, dude, I can't listen to this shit. They're just talking about his marketability. It's like, dude, we understand.
Yeah,
he's a name for casuals. It's unfortunate. The UFC should be ashamed. Dana White should be ashamed.
That's right. Ring the shame bell, goddammit.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. But that's when he should have rang the shame bell. Dana White saying, "Oh, where do they find this guy? You mean the can crusher that they wanted to feed to Greg Hardy.
Yeah, you
Like
mean the guy you brought back to the organization to fight Greg Hardy? Where did you find him?
And that Steffi Haynes even said for Christ's sake, he was wearing red. He was wearing red shorts like he was already a fucking can of Campbell's.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I think the line that Mike Perry had was talking about how training with his girlfriend and her during fight week. He's like, "There's not a lot of love I want that week. I feel bad for her because she wants love," and I'm like, "Don't touch me."
Oh yeah.
It's so Mike Perry.
That was funny.
It's fucking great.
Yeah. So and then shouts out, of course, to the Mookie and Crookie show with Mookie Alexander and Steffi Haynes. Always good.
Yeah, it's definitely solid. Cool, man. Yeah, I can see why that's a skip. Like, it had some good moments, but yeah, that Greg Hardy shit.
And that's the thing. Just it's a quick caveat that it's always listenable. They're funny, but if they just keep kind of rambling off or going off top, I'm just kind of like, I mean,
yeah. Whenever I have to hear about Game of Thrones or
I get it. I watched Game of Thrones. I also saw the Avengers. I don't have to hear you talk about it again because
What do you mean, doggy? That's all we have to talk about, baby boy.
Oh yeah, right. Let's just forget. Just fuck the format, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. Hilarious. Cool, man. So the MMA podcast I recommend people skip this week is episode 45 of Real Quick with Mike Swick with the guest Luke Rockhold. It's not a bad episode overall. They were all great. The Mike Swick and his co-host Mark, I want to say his name is, who I always fuck up.
I think it's Mac. No,
I think it's Mark.
It's Mark. Sorry, don't listen to me. It is.
Yeah. No, it's the Secret World of Alex Mack. I'm pretty sure is his co-host.
Oh, yeah.
So they talk a bit about Tiger winning the Masters, which, like, cool, I guess. I don't know.
It's like you're like 3 weeks late. Heard, yeah.
Yeah, that too. Well, they are in Thailand, to be fair to them. So they just heard golf was a thing this week. So
yeah, the news is a bit late.
Yeah,
they got to send it by a fucking bird, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then Luke Rockhold Skypes in from like some either hotel or something by the beach, and it's fine. It's a very Luke Rockhold interview where he's just talking about his weight cut and being able to eat at 205 versus 185, and how previously the weight cut really hurt his output. Talk a bit about Ngannou versus Shady S. And then, but the problem is, the reason why it's a skip for me is Luke Rockhold's eating during the interview. And on top of him eating during the interview, he's eating a salad, which is extra mouth noisy. And he doesn't address it. Eventually they address it because they're like, "What, do you have food brought? Like, what are you eating?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I got a burger, that light heavyweight life." But yeah, the mouth noises just got to me. So nothing that at all that Mike or Mark did, but
I imagine he's only cutting like what, 20 pounds, maybe.
Probably about that, yeah.
Like 15, yeah. I mean, and we'll get to that card when it comes up. I'm pretty convinced, just based on historically when people go, I think he's going to have a better chin. He's going to hit really fucking hard. I know he fights Blachowicz, who's no pushover by any means, but wouldn't be surprised if we see like an even better Luke Rockhold. Like, I feel like that's just the kind of theme.
I think so. The problem is he leaves his chin up in the air after he throws. So while his chin while he will theoretically be able to take shots better, he doesn't exactly tuck his chin after he throws. So it'll be interesting to see.
He should just pretend when he's when he's trying to do standing guard, he should just pretend someone has a camera on him so he can just awkwardly go like this.
There you go. Yeah.
Some sort of little fucking thing going on.
Yeah. Or just awkwardly try to get a handshake and then not be able to. And then just kind of like try to ride it out. I feel like he has a lot of those moments where you're like, dude, for somebody.
I think I had sent it to you one time, but someone on Reddit made a compilation of I don't know what to do with my hands. And it's every single time he's been on camera. I remember the one where Nate Diaz kind of just goes like this, like West Side and flexes. And then fucking Luke Rockhold's like, like just goes like that.
Doing weird like fucking hand motions and shit.
It's just fucking great.
Yeah, you figure for a model, he'd be better at figuring out what to do with his hands. But yeah,
To be fair, yeah, never mind.
it's a decent episode, but just the fact that he was chewing into the mic and it was real audible that he was eating a salad. And he wasn't like just straight up eating it. He was like picking at it, which I don't know if that's better or worse. But I don't know.
I guess for the croutons.
I didn't hear it. All I heard was a lot of wet, soppy mouth sounds. Which
fun.
Yeah, you can see why I had it as a skip because wet, soppy mouth sounds are
Yeah.
not the kind of podcast I'm looking for. That's a very different kind of video.
Yeah, what is the ASMR on Twitch?
Oh God, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
I still can't believe that's a thing. That is so weird.
Fucking yeah, people be creepy, yo. Cool, man. Well, do you have any can't miss episodes this week?
Yeah, for me, I don't know if it's ironic because of the timing, probably not. But A-Side live chat, I really enjoyed this one. Mainly because it was a lot of talk with the heavyweight picture and with Stipe finally getting that fight that he deserved in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, so here I'll go through the top. So they're both curious why
we
Stipe.
should start by saying the A-Side live chat changed up this week. So this week, since it's a rotating guest host, Chuck Mendenhall sat in, who is a known favorite of the podcast, Chuck Mendenhall.
So they discussed the whole title shot with Stipe getting it, and I'll get into what their opinion on that is. Let's see who it was. Oh, it was Sean. Sean thinks that Stipe needs a quality win first. He's like, how come Ngannou can't get this shot right now? Or even Junior Dos Santos. Well, those guys are slated to fight each other either way. They said, can Brock Lesnar really retire from something that he's not actively doing? Did he ever even have intentions to fight again? Was this all a ruse for the past year? I think USADA defeated him, which is why he retired.
Quite possible. We may never know.
We probably won't. Wouldn't be surprised. They evaluate the entire heavyweight division from last year. Well, basically from last July up until now. Sean doesn't think Stipe deserves it. Chuck thinks he does. I think he does. I thought he deserved it when I saw him lose in person. Like, fucking rematch, let's go. But, things happen. Brock Lesnar just holds the division hostage. Or, excuse me, WME holds the division hostage.
As always.
Yeah, and then they talk about Rory McDonald's honesty about fighting. Should other religious fighters be echoing a sentiment? I don't necessarily agree with that because you don't see a lot of Muslim fighters like Khabib saying – Khabib, they don't make excuses. Even Bilal Muhammad's the best example. He's like, dude, I'll still fast during Ramadan, and you see me show up to fight day.
The Muslim religion is a little bit cooler with beating the shit out of people, though. Yeah. According to their
but I'm just saying when they say religious fighters, I'm just saying, But
no, I agree. I like Michael Chandler's point where he said, my God's cool with me beating the hell out of people. So.
See, even though someone would get mad because I'd be kind of trolling, if I was a fighter on this weekend's card, if I won, I would first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, the God of War, Ares. Because I just played. That's literally what I would say. And that's it. And you're like, okay, well, you pray to the God of violence, and then that would piss off a lot of people and confuse a lot of people. So it'd be fun. Be a fun reaction. They think the UFC's middleweight division is in its best place now because of Hermansson's performance. I think it's fun. It mixes things up. Am I sympathetic towards Jacare not getting his title shot? Yes, I like Jacare a lot. He's a great competitor. He's had a lot of quality wins. Sometimes there's always that guy, as corny as it sounds, that wants it more. And that's just how that goes. So whether you didn't fight to your full potential, you had an off day, it happens. It's fucking sports. It's combat sports. So, it is what it is.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Wearing my headband, it is what it is.
That's right.
The reason why this is also a can't miss is they talked about John Fitch, not barring that terrible fucking fight that probably never should have happened in the first place. They said, how was he even cleared to fight in Bellator when in the PFL, when he was still fighting PFL, he had brain scans, and he even said, if my brain scan comes back and it shows that I'm in a declining state of health, I'm going to retire. Not only did he admit that his brain was in a declining state of health, he chose not to retire. So there's been instances where Rashad Evans was barred from the state athletic commission at the time. I think it was New York that didn't allow him to fight. Maybe it's Vegas. Yeah, dude, you just showed us your MRI. This isn't good, so you can't fight. How come they didn't do this for John Fitch?
Yeah, I would figure he must have. I mean, he must have gone through and passed something. I can't imagine California State Athletic Commission is going, despite some of their decisions lately, like fucking John Jones and Tito versus Chuck 3, which we mentioned.
Yeah.
But I got to imagine that Andy Foster at least got more tests ran on John Fitch. Because John Fitch also, I don't think, is one of those dudes that they would go way out of their way for.
Barring that terrible fight from last weekend, do you think, well, he probably wouldn't. Do you think John Fitch would pass the USADA test? I mean, I don't know.
I'll just say this. Ben Askren sure doesn't, according to his podcast this week.
That's a good answer. They said, if I'm Jack Hermanson, I'm making some phone calls to my manager complaining how Greg Hardy made 75 and 75. Yes, we know that, but that whole thing. They don't think Rory will win the tournament just based on his honesty. I kind of am inclining to agree with that, except to be honest, I can't remember who else is left because that whole tournament is taking forever. I know Michael Venom Page is still in it.
Yep. MVP and Lima.
Lima. Who fucking knows? If I'm honest, I don't care at this point. I don't know. Only because Rory's not in it. And it's like at that point, I feel like when you admit that you're not in it anymore, you're probably not going to win. Unless you just go out like Rocky and just give it your all, which I would hope he would. So who knows what's going to happen to that? I think that whole thing's a fucking shit show.
Yeah, I mean, tournaments always are. They're always fucked up.
Then they did a whole true or false thing.
Oh, Neiman Gracie. Neiman Gracie's who's next for him?
That's what he fights. Yeah, well, that's probably be a terrible fight too. Me being all pessimistic and shit, right?
Right.
Then again, Bellator never ceases to. I'm just not surprised anymore with Bellator. They do a true or false whole segment with like, will Greg Hardy end up fighting Derek Lewis by the end of this year? I think they said probably not because that's still probably way too soon. They said potentially eventually. Depends. Knowing the UFC, they want to push this piece of shit. And granted, how Derek Lewis hates people who beats women, as most people do, or most rational people should hate women beaters. I hope that fight happens. That'd be great. I think they talk about, will Tyron Woodley move up to 185 if he loses to Robbie Lawler? Those are just questions like that from the viewers and listeners that, yeah, maybe, yes, no. It's either a yes or a no. Or a fucking maybe. It's, we don't know. Tyron, I think, is about to be 38. I think, or 37. I don't know how old he is now.
He's getting up there for sure.
But and then they said, lastly, should the winner of tomorrow night's fight, Donald Cerrone and Ally Quinta, fight Justin Gaethje next? Some people might say, oh, forget Conor McGregor right now. That dude has a lot more other things to worry about than getting back in the octagon at this point.
Yeah, like not getting caught up in rape charges.
Yes, to put it lightly. So I think Gaethje would be a fun fight versus the winner of tomorrow night's main event. Gaethje's number
Chris,
5.
I think you misunderstood. He didn't put it lightly. That's why he's up on charges. He put it forcibly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Sorry.
So, unless you want to be like the Hollywood defensive pieces of shit like Roman Polanski, but then again, Hollywood is corrupt. So there's this. Oh, I don't even have to explain what Hollywood's all about. But that's a whole other thing. Yeah, and just rape in general. Just lots of just rape everywhere. Yeah.
Well,
probably animal rape too.
Took a turn.
Yeah, it definitely did. So that's what I have for my can't miss. Yeah, I can't wait for tomorrow's fights. Can't wait to preview it. Unfortunately, I will not be seeing tomorrow's fights because I work tomorrow from 4 p.m. to about 1 a.m. So luckily for me, I believe with ESPN Plus, I can just rewatch it like the next day.
Yeah, you should be able to.
I'll try my best to avoid spoilers if I can. If not, whatever. I still want to watch the fight.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good card overall. I think I'm probably going to be at Society with Gilbert. Shouts out to Gilbert. Next week, I will show off the painting he did for us.
That's right. With the, or I won't say it. I'll let you show it off.
I mean,
but yeah,
I think I've talked about it on air before, but yeah, we got him do the Leslie Smith artwork to paint that, and it looks fucking dope. So you guys will see that next week, and we'll definitely tweet out some stuff about it. Maybe I'll get an audio clip from him or something. Cool, dude. Let's see. So did you listen to any new shows this week?
Unfortunately, I did not. I wish I did. Kind of had some weird shit going on that I don't have to get in detail with this week, so I kind of was scatterbrained.
Yeah, I know MMA Podcasts.com did an update for a good part of the week as well.
I know. Yeah, I think they had a couple of old episodes, which I know sometimes the whole aggregator kind of it's in ebbs and flows with stuff that's added. It doesn't recognize if it's late or not. I totally understand. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have anything new, or at least brand new.
No worries. So I actually did come across a new show because Brendan Fitzgerald, the UFC commentator who a lot of times works with Paul Felder, he recently started a podcast called Fitz and the Fighter. Episode 1 is the one I listened to. It just came out. And it's basically the show is going to be him sitting down with fighters, and they're all going to be taped in person because he thinks that's a big deal, and he doesn't like the delay over Skype, which, as you guys heard on last week's episode, can be a bitch. So it is. I like the idea of the show. Essentially, he's going out of his way to make them evergreen, so they're not going to be very timely. They're not going to be talking about like, hey, this is the upcoming fight card or this fight card just happened kind of stuff. It's more just sitting down with fighters and asking them about their origins and their history and just about life and that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. I'm excited to see how that show grows. The first episode was with Forrest Griffin, and Forrest just talks about growing up in Georgia and getting into a bunch of fights as a kid.
Being a cop, right?
Yep. He actually talks about quitting that job to try out for Tough.
That's right.
Yeah, and he knew when he quit the job, since he just barely was under the requirements, that if he quit that job to go try out for Tough, there was no way he could try to get the job back at all. So it was cool hearing that. He also mentioned offhandedly that Joe Silva is the reason why Forrest got the Tough tryout in the first place. So it was just a cool interview with Forrest. If you like Forrest Griffin, you'll really like it. If you don't like Forrest Griffin, you might not. But I like Brendan Fitzgerald. It'll be interesting to see how that show grows once he gets more time under his belt in the podcast format. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see how that grows. I think he could come out with some very cool episodes depending on the guest and how open they're willing to be.
Yeah, I mean, I like both of those guys as well, so I'm definitely going to tune into that because it's going to be a solid start. I mean, I think it'll go. I think it'll be successful. Yeah, with those two guys leading.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of shows that do. There's not a lot
sure.
of shows that do that kind of format or those kind of sit down interviews. Really, I know Jeff Sherwood's done some on Between Rounds, and there's a couple, but it's cool that he's going out of his way to do it in person and that he's trying to make it evergreen and not topical. So I think that'll be pretty cool going forward. Fits in a Fighter, everybody, check it out.
Cool, man.
Sweet. So let's see. Do you have any, before we get to our honorable mentions, do you have any podcasts that for the well-rounded fight fan? Shouts out to Co-Main Event Podcast.
Yeah, I caught, of course, good old Billy Freckles.
Billy Freckles. Billy fucking Bud, dude.
Good old Monday morning podcast, or if you miss Monday morning, the Thursday after Monday morning podcast, or whatever the fuck, just before Friday, whatever he calls it on Thursday. I don't really have any specifics from the show, except he basically just talks about whatever's in like pop culture, what's in the news, that kind of shit.
Yep.
Mostly Boston sports talk, his Bruins, that kind of thing, yada, 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 you know. He's a big chowder head.
Shocking.
So, like that as always. I wish I had another one that I listened to. There's always that moment where I find something I'm going to listen to, and either I listen to like maybe a quarter of it and don't remember it, or it's just like fuck. So
yeah, I got you.
I'll make a better effort now that I don't have some weird shit going on. Going this weekend and beyond to kind of at least plan some shit out as far as like the off-topic podcast. Something maybe I can listen to a couple of them and just do bits and pieces of it to kind of so I can get more shout-outs.
Cool,
just kind
man.
of have a variety.
Yeah, that works. I actually don't. I don't have a podcast technically this week, but it's a show. Giant Bomb, the video game website.
Yep.
That's ran by Jeff Gerstmann, with of course like guys like Brad Shoemaker and a bunch of dudes. They have a show that they've been doing for a while now. I don't think I've talked about. It's called Ranking of Fighters. So it's a show hosted by Jeff Gerstmann, Ben Pack, and Jason A. Striker. And they're essentially, the whole bit is, of course, it's a King of Fighters joke, but the whole bit is they're making a list of the best fighting games of all time, one at a time.
Interesting. So how many are there total on the list?
I think right now they're like 68.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
they start from the bottom, I imagine, right?
No, they're just randomly picking games and then ranking up.
Okay.
So like,
wow, that's gonna take a while.
Yeah. That's kind of the joke. But I mean, there's everything from Tattoo Assassins, the terrible arcade cabinet, to I think they finally did the first Mortal Kombat recently.
Which I guess is there Shaq Fu?
No, they haven't gotten to that yet. But it'll be on there eventually, I'm sure. There's some really bad games, Balls 3D, the Sonic Fighters game.
I didn't even know they existed, but it doesn't surprise me just because it's Sega and it's Sonic.
There's some very bad games. There's also a bunch of really tight ones too. It's
like
just
Battletoads.
No, they haven't gotten. They've done a lot of weird, obscure shit to start off, and that's kind of what's cool about that show.
So is this more like a traditional beat 'em up fighter, like 1v1 or 2v2, or just like a platformer?
No, straight up fighting game, like 1v1, like Mortal Kombat style.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, health bars and what's the fucking sound tests and yeah.
Oh, I see.
So it's like classic fighting games. So they've done. I think they did DC versus Mortal Kombat. They did regular Mortal Kombat. They generally, a lot of the games they've played are like just weird, obscure ones. Like I forget the name of the one where it's it's a Japanese game where it's all like girls who go to high school that play sports. It's like just weird fucking games.
I think someone told me about that one time. I don't know what the fuck it's like the weirdest possible name.
Yeah, I forget the name of it off.
Wait, when I think of that, isn't there like Dead or Alive? Wasn't that the one where it's like the chicks in the bikinis fucking fight to the death on the beach?
Two Ultimate recently. They've done a ton of games, but it's just very funny. They're hilarious. First off, and they talk about how they all wear lab coats. Well, two of them wear lab coats, and they talk about what the science determined. Like they don't determine what the best game is; the science determines what the best game is.
They have like an algorithm, or they're just
the algorithm is: does it feel good? Does it play good? Is this shit dumb? And it's real fucking fun. I highly recommend it. I think the most recent ones are Giant Bomb Premium, which I think is like, whatever it is, $20 a year, maybe $30 a year, maybe. I don't even think it's that much. But a lot of the older episodes they've done are just up on YouTube. So link in the description, like always. But it's hilarious. They've done stuff like Battle Arena, Toshinden 3, Fight Club, that terrible Fight Club game they did, Deadliest Warrior, just like a lot of real trash games.
Wait, so that means they probably might have For Honor in there? I know because you could do 1v1s in that, even though
For Honor's not like traditional fighting game enough.
Not like a side by side, like a 2D or
2D or 2.5D or 3D, but like straight up fighting game.
I just remember the ones that are competitive. It's like, what's it called, Blaze Blue or Blaz Blue?
Yeah, Blaze Blue.
Obviously the Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Mortal Kombat. I imagine. They'll name Dragon Ball Fighters for sure.
Eventually they'll get in there, yeah. But I think, what is it? War of Roses or whatever? That fucking the game where
that's one. Yeah.
That's the name of it. I know it has roses in the name. It's the two heist battle. Battle of Roses, something like
Oh,
that.
dude, what else is there's Killer Instinct probably.
No, they haven't.
What
They
else is
haven't. Like I
there?
said, they've only done 68, and a lot of them are just like obscure arcade games, like Tattoo Assassins. But it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I highly recommend people check it out. It's goofy as hell.
Cool.
Did you have any MMA podcasts you wanted to quickly shout out?
Yeah, like I said before, I shout out the Mookie and the Crookie Show with Mookie Alexander and Steffi Haynes. Co-main event briefly. Heavy Hands was solid. They gave, and I'll mention more of that during our preview. If I Did It was pretty good, even though the latter half of it was a lot about the presidential race crap, which I don't.
Well,
I should care about it, but I
they-
don't right now.
Yeah, If I Did It, they split into If I Did It and If the Shoes Fit on YouTube, but on the podcast feed, it's combined.
Okay, that's probably why. Okay. It was still fun. And then I listened to MMA. Oh, no, I think this is new. The fuck am I talking about? This is at the top of my list. MMA Beyond with Ray Longo and Steve Maraboli.
Oh, and I've never. So that's Longo's podcast, right? Where he
Yeah.
has Chris, the producer, also. And
So that's new. Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry. I apologize. This is literally the top of my notes. Yeah, this is brand fucking new. I'd never heard of this. Yeah, Chris producers with them. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Different Chris,
a
the
lot of-
producer, also, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed that because he's like, "Oh, Chris the producer," and I was like, "Wait, that's not the one I'm used to." But that's actually really funny. Yeah, no, this one was good. They just talked about the Bellator card, lots of mostly talk about the Gracie family, mostly Hobson and Neiman. Talk about Roy McDonald. They love seeing Lena Lay McFarlane hurt, and that gnarly cut she opened up on Vita Ortega.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
that fucking straight up Mortal Kombat showing skull goddamn elbow.
Yeah, that was. I didn't believe someone when I saw a tweet, and then I looked at a photo. I was like, "Oh God!"
Yeah,
like
I don't get squeamish, but that shit when you see white through a cut, it's not a good look.
Yeah. So, and then they discussed water weight testing and percentages and how promotions just promotions in general should deal with that or not, whether you're one or so. Yeah, that was solid. That was my new podcast. My apologies. I fucking sorry, Ray Longo and Steve Maraboli. Totally, I didn't mean to leave you hanging, but there's that. Go check out MMA Beyond.
That's a show I've been meaning to catch for a while now, but I haven't. So I'm glad you did. I'm gonna have to give that a listen for sure. Let's see. So some honorable mentions for me. MMA Roadshow episode 214 was solid. That was the one where that's where our intro clip came from. Talk a lot about Rory's post-fight comments, obviously. They talk a little bit about Olima's fight, and then a lot of Brock talk, obviously. There's an interview with Cowboy and Al, and they say they might start recording on Fridays since John's going to start doing commentary for a local promotion in Vegas on Thursdays or on some Thursdays. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes the show. I imagine they're still going to record it in the afternoon or at night on Fridays, which means it might go back to not being covered by us again. God damn it. Since we record Friday nights as well. But we will see. I like that show a lot, and I thought that John's joke was fucking hilarious. MMA Vivisection for Bellator. What the fuck is the name of it? It's Bellator Birmingham.
Oh, yeah.
Or Birmingham, I think, because it's England, not Alabama, right?
Yeah, Birmingham, England?
I think it's Birmingham, England. But there's a Birmingham in Alabama, too, isn't there?
There is, yeah. But they call it Birmingham, not Birmingham.
Right. That's why I think it's Birmingham.
Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, exactly. So that breakdown is real good. That's actually going to be where our clip comes from, where I believe it's Eddie who makes the sweet joke that you're going to hear in a minute here. And then the other MMA section for Invicta FC, for the Phoenix Rising tournament, that one's real good as well. So
okay, nice.
Definitely recommend that. Eugene S. Robinson Showstomper version 63 is solid. A lot about Hermansson's win and Dana being shocked about Smolyakov looking terrible. Believe You Me. Oh, and how he's pissed at Bellator. Believe You Me, you talked about Joe Rogan MMA Show episode 65 with Corey Anderson was really good. I didn't know Corey's a big hunter, but it was just cool hearing about how he got into MMA, how he only trained MMA for a year before being on The Ultimate Fighter, which is fucking insane.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so it's cool
That is
hearing about
crazy.
that. Let's see. The A-Side live chat you talked about. Grange TV season 2 episode 7 was solid. Just a Q&A with Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker at one point says he'd love to do the 3v3 or 5v5 MMA fights with obstacles in them, which is fucking hilarious. MMA Junkie Radio episode 2910 isn't bad. It's about a lot of talk about Brock retiring, but then Shannon Knapp calls in to talk about the Phoenix Rising tournament, which is pretty cool to hear about. Let's see. Menace and the Man episode 27 was solid. Gaethje called in and Askren called in. Yeah, Gaethje also mentioned he wants Tony or Connor next, which fucking I'd watch either of those.
Yeah, I would as well.
Protect Your Neck episode 125 was solid. Dan Tom was drinking Nemiroff vodka that they sent to him, and yeah, just a solid breakdown episode from him as always. And then The Outsiders from this week, which is the show hosted by Josh Gross and Jeff Sherwood, was real good. A lot of talk about Bellator 220 and Rory's comments. And then a lot of talk about how Hardy is terrible and ONE's new agent program that's doing exactly what Dana White always wanted to, which is cut out managers from the sport. So pretty good overall. I liked it a lot. Awesome, yeah, man. Dude. Cool. Well, we will go ahead and wrap this part here, but we will be back here in a minute where we are going to break down we're going to recap the Invicta FC Phoenix Rising tournament, which was real solid. Some craziness happened with that. It literally just ended as we started this. So we're going to do that. And then after that, we're going to break down our picks for UFC Wichita. Nope. Wisconsin. Nope. Ottawa. I knew there was a W in there somewhere.
Ottawa,
cold.
Canada, yeah. Or ESPN plus 9?
I think it's 8. Nope, you're right, 9. It's 9. Iaquinta versus Cerrone.
9.
So we will be back to do that here in just a second. Yeah. And until then, listen to this clip of Eddie Mercado talking about the other less known Roberts. Cool.